and you are comparing them. The reason why people don't like fractions is they're just hard to deal with. They're hard to add together, they're hard to subtract. Sometimes they're hard to even understand what they really mean. So people usually get like not really excited about fractions because they're harder to work with, but it is what it is, and you gotta do what you gotta do here. And today we're comparing, we won't do this for long, but we will do it for a little while by drawing pictures. And I would say as a rule, you want to draw rectangles. Simply, they're easier to cut into pieces than are circles. So I would suggest strongly that you draw rectangles. And the one thing you must remember when you draw your rectangles, children, is the rectangles need to be the same size. Use the squares on your paper. Use the squares on your homework paper. Use the squares on your homework paper. Doing what we're doing with fractions, comparing them using pictures, it only works as good as a drawer you are, and as neat and accurate as you are. Because if you draw a couple different size shapes, then it's not going to work so well. For example, here's the deal. Let's say I am comparing 1/2 and 1/3. The directions say compare 1/2 to 1/3. What you're going to do is you are going to draw two rectangles as equal rectangles as you can. And I don't have squares, so I'm just going to draw it as freehand as I can. Here's one. Here's the other. You have a tendency to draw one bigger than the other, but okay. And how do I represent 1/2? Well, it's pretty easy. One else, and you?
Cut 1 in half.
Cut it down the middle and shade half of it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you represent 1/3?
You cut it 3 times.
And thirds as much as you can, and shade just one of them. And then by looking at the pictures, you know, which rectangle has more shaded, that tells you which one is bigger. Did I do something wrong? Are you gonna tell me which one's bigger, Jaden? Which one?
1/2.
1/2. Okay. But that wouldn't work so well. Here's kind of my point in that, you know, let's say you draw your first rectangle like this, you know, and then you draw your next rectangle like this, and then you compare this, half of this is this, and then 1/3 of this is like this, and you look at it and you go, oh, my 1/3 is bigger than my 1/2. Well, it is drawn bigger, but that's because you didn't start off with two equal sized rectangles. So the rectangles have to be as close as you can get, otherwise your results may be skewed. That's always a good word. I like to use the word skewed at least once a day. Okay?
I think
Using a ruler would get you extra bonus points, by the way, for the teacher. Or a straight edge, like you do when you do your extra credit. Yes, ma'am?
if you know to remember from the homework assignment, would you run around since we didn't learn that yet?
Do I ever count things wrong? I'm only, Kate, on your homework assignments, I'm only looking for you to show work. If you show work, you get an A. It doesn't matter how many wrong you get. Let's compare, how about 2/3 compared to 3/4? 2/3 compared to 3/4. And again, I would suggest drawing a nice little rectangle. Now, they might tell you to draw circles. If they tell you to draw circles, then by all means you can draw a circle. Again, the problem I have with circles is they're hard to freehand and they're hard to draw the same size. So if I'm doing 2/3, what do I have to do to show 2/3 Elizabeth? I have to, and there again, yeah, you gotta try to get it as close as you can into thirds. And I'm shading 2 of them, right? That's my 2/3. My next one, I have to do what, Grace Christ?
Divide it into 4 parts.
And again, the best way to divide things in fourths is to cut them in half. I don't like that one. Cut them in half, and then cut those halves in half again. And you get pretty close. Shading those three pieces in. Which one appears, and again, this is only as accurate as you are. Charlie, which one?
3/4.
3/4, yeah. This is not rocket science. This is not, how about this one? 1/2 and 2/4. So we draw our two rectangles. I could just draw a rectangle with my thing and cut it, but I want. Comparing those two, I have to do what with the first one, Jillian?
We have to cut it into half, cut it in half.
And shade that, right? And 2/4, how do I show that? Plans? Cut her into 4 pieces and shade how many? 2. And survey would say on this one? Top one there, Kate?
Equal.
They are equal. Not 2